Hello, success seekers. It's Stephanie here, and it is Rent to Rent, short and sweet, number 31, ladies and gentlemen, number 31. And we have a great question for you today from Mica, and it's all about mortgaged properties. And this is Misha's question. It is, hi, Stephanie. I was wondering if you could shed some light on doing the rent-to-rent strategy with landlords who have a mortgage, as I've heard it's best to avoid landlords who have a mortgage. What's your opinion on this? What obstacles could you face doing rent-to-rent with a landlord who's got a mortgage? Great question, Misha. So thank you for that. And we will be diving into it in a short and sweet fashion, i.e. lots of value, only a little bit of time. But may I ask you something? Do you want to feel amazing today and for the rest of your life? Hit that subscribe button. Also like this video. Maybe leave a comment with your question. I'd love to hear from you guys. Okay. Misha, to answer your question. Mortgages. It's slightly different for HMOs as for serviced accommodation. So let me talk about my favorite subject, rent-to-rent HMO, first of all. So if you're dealing with existing HMOs, the owners will usually be already on the right HMO lending product for an HMO. So the problem, let me just rewind a bit if you're wondering what the problem is with the landlord's mortgage, is that the banks and other institutions that lend money on property, they like to specify how the property will be used. And so if somebody has a normal buy-to-let mortgage, usually that lending will specify that it may not, or sometimes that lending will specify that it may not be used, for example, as an HMO or as a serviced accommodation. Okay, so that's what the issue is. The first, back to HMOs then. So when you're dealing with landlords of existing HMOs, then typically they're already going to be on the right product because the property is already an HMO. So that takes care of that one. The other option is that you're dealing with somebody who's got maybe a buy-to-let property or a property on a buy-to-let mortgage or a residential mortgage. And in order to rent their property out as an HMO through you, they're going to need to seek their lender's approval. Now, oftentimes a lender might not give approval, and it can be costly moving mortgage lenders. So that might put paid to your deals. So from what I've said there, you can probably gather that your simplest strategy if you're doing rent-to-rent HMO is to work with the owners of existing HMOs. And you're also aided there because you can write directly to the owners of HMOs. And if you want to see our landlord letters, I have put the link in the description to download the landlord letters, which have brought in over £2 million worth of contracts for us and are working amazingly well for our rent-to-rent stars as well. So do download that, renttorent.com/landlord-letters. Okay, so that is the HMO landlords. So work with the owners of existing HMOs. If you work with a landlord who it's not an existing HMO, it's a standard single let, then what you would need to do is say to the owner of the property before signing the contract that they would need to be on the right lending to enable them to rent out as an HMO. It's their responsibility to make sure that they are on the right finance for whatever they're doing with the property. That responsibility is not yours. That belongs to them. So you would just need to discuss that with them, go over that with them, and take assurances from them that they've had it agreed with their lender, or that they already are on the right type of lending to rent out as an HMO. Okay, so that's HMOs covered. The second one is serviced apartments. Now, serviced apartments typically are on a normal either residential or buy-to-let mortgage. And oftentimes these mortgages do not allow for service apartment, running as a service apartment. So again, you would need to explain what you're doing to the owner and explain to them that they potentially would need different type of lending, and that they would need to get that lending in place if their property is mortgaged. So that's their responsibility to do that. You might say to me, well, Stephanie, it might be their responsibility, but won't I be at risk? Well, yes, you will. But how I look at it is this: when you go into business, there are risks to all parts of it. So if you want to, I was going to say, if you want to live risk-free, you can carry on in your job for the next 40 years, 40 hours, working full-time, not enjoying it. For many people, they don't enjoy it. It sucks the life right out of them in their 9 to 5. But although I say that's risk-free, it's not risk-free, because many people who work that way are unable to build up the wealth that they want to create or the freedom, and they're still at risk of being made redundant or whatever happens, that they could find themselves, out of a job. So when you control and are able to create your own wealth, it does bring great rewards. Also, there are risks of doing it. But I think these are minimal risks. You get it right in the first place when you're signing up the property. In my opinion, you go with the existing HMOs. If you're using a non-existing HMO, so you get the landlord to be onto the right type of financing. And then if you're working with a service department, it's better to work with unencumbered properties, i.e. properties that are not mortgaged. About 40% of properties in the UK are not mortgaged. So there's no finance against them, so you can move straight forward. And on the other 60% that are mortgaged, you would again want to ensure that your property owner is on the right type of mortgage for the type of letting that you were going to agree with him. Okay, so that is the answer to your question. If you have any further questions, Mica, please let me know. Or if any of you have any questions, please put them in the comments. If you're just getting started in rent to rent, you want to find out more about it, we've got our free training. It's an absolutely great way to start. And after that, you'll see within the free training, there's an option to book a call with me if you want to discuss anything or if you've got any questions. That is it from me for today. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Remember to like this video. See you tomorrow, guys. Bye for now.